worldwide through internet, satellite, AM and FM stations across the nation. Sponsored by SurvivalistSeeds.com, PatriotFood.com, and StriderRides.com. It gets a little rough from here on. This is Don't Tread on Me with Big John Lipscomb and Professor Jeffrey Grupp.
I hope you're hanging on, folks, because we've got another interesting show coming up. And, we're going to talk about transplanting memories. Without memories, who are you? And where are these memories located? Are they in the brain, the consciousness, the collective consciousness, I should say, or your own individual soul consciousness, or a little bit of all of it? And if they reside in the brain, why and how, and could they be contained inside other body parts? After you hear this clip, you might think so. This is going to provoke some interesting thoughts inside your mind, not necessarily your brain. Listen to this, and please don't instant message me during this audio, because when you do, it will bleep and interrupt the audio part. But check this out, folks.
A heart transplant is now a routine operation. But a number of patients who have received new hearts are reporting huge changes in their tastes, personality, and, most extraordinarily, in their memories. They believe that they've been given much more than they bargained for from their donors. The heart has been seen for centuries as a symbolic organ associated with love and emotion. Today, new science is testing this theory, that the heart is involved in our feelings, that it is intelligent and can sometimes lead the brain in our interpretation of the world around us.
From our research, I've come to say that I think the poets and the great scholars have been right all along. The heart plays a particularly unique role in our experience of emotion.
Why have these metaphors dominated for centuries? Is it just metaphor? Is it just poetry? Or is there an inner wisdom here that merits the attention of modern science?
It's a controversial theory, and many cardiologists and neurologists are skeptical.
I'm very skeptical because I know that this organ cannot generate ideas or memory in the sense we know.
Basically, from a surgeon's point of view, the heart is first and foremost, and perhaps last also, a pump.
So is our heart just an organ to pump blood, or could it be much more? The first patient to report a change in personality was Claire Sylvia from Boston in the United States. 20 years ago, she was the first person at New Haven Hospital to receive a heart and lung transplant. The operation was a success.
It was very weird to see my heart on the machine, giving me the beat and hearing it. It was a whole new rhythm, a whole new feeling. And little did I know that my journey was just beginning. It was a couple of days after the surgery that the press came in to interview me, and one of the reporters asked, now that you've had this miracle, what do you want more than anything in the world? And I said, I'd die for a beer right now. It just came from me, and I'm not a beer drinker. And I was a little mortified by my flippant answer to such a profound question. So that was my first happening. And little by little, many things started happening till I was really feeling convinced that I was living with the presence of another within me. The first thing that happened were the food preference changes. Suddenly, like green peppers, finding them, putting them in my food, I used to take them out. And the first time they allowed me to drive, I found myself going to a Kentucky Fried Chicken place to buy chicken nuggets, something I never did before. I found that my handwriting, instead of going from right to left, it was going from left to right. And these things were sneaking up on me, little by little.
Like most heart transplant recipients, no detail was revealed to Claire about her donor. All she was told was that her heart had come from a young man who had died in a motorcycle accident.
It wasn't until the few months after the transplant that I had a dream in which I'm with a young man. I awakened from the dream feeling that this for certain was my donor. And in the dream, his name, I knew him as Tim L. So I called the transplant coordinator, told her about the dream, and asked her if that was his name. Well, there was a moment of silence, and she said, "Please don't pursue this."
Remarkably, the donor's name was Tim Lamarand. What's more, he loved beer and green peppers. Chicken nuggets were found in his motorcycle jacket when he died. It was only when she finally met her donor family that she pieced everything together, giving her confirmation that everything she was experiencing had extraordinary similarities to her donor.
The family of my heart verified all the experience I was having, and they were hungry to get anything they could from me about Tim that I was remembering from his memories that were coming through me.
Claire was the first case to appear in the public eye. The memories and changes were uncannily like her donor. With strict codes of confidentiality in place at the hospital, it was impossible for Claire to have known these details about her donor. So where could these memories have come from? Professor Paul Pearsall is a cardioneurologist from the University of Honolulu. He first encountered stories like Claire's whilst recovering in hospital from a bone marrow transplant.
I had a bone marrow transplant for stage 4 cancer in the very early 80s. And I was on the transplant unit. And we would sit down at night, all of us who were dying, and most of us were, and talk about things. And the heart transplant recipients were reporting receiving the memories, feelings, food preferences, fears, musical preferences of their donor. One woman who got the heart of a boxer was the most quiet, demure, easygoing woman. Hated violence. Left the room when her husband would watch football. She's got this heart of the boxer. Now she watches football and yells and swears and punches and everything. So that's when I started hearing all these remarkable stories. And I started to collect every single one I could.
Could the transplanted heart be bringing with it some kind of information from its previous owner? We know that the heart is a hugely energetic organ and is in constant communication with the brain. 40,000 neurons, or nerve cells, in the heart communicate up to the brain. Hormones from the heart travel in our bloodstream, and every time the heart beats, it creates a pulse wave. But most impressive of all is our heart's magnetic energy, 5,000 times more powerful than the brain. It can be measured up to 6 feet away from our bodies.
I thought, this heart is just as powerful, more powerful, and does talk to the brain. Maybe we should be paying attention to that. Maybe the brain, even though it thinks it's us, isn't.
Professor Pearsall was sure that the energy of the heart and its relationship with the brain was the key. And as more and more transplant patients came up with these remarkable experiences, it seemed to confirm it. But could his hunch? In the last 40 years,